Now, what are you required if you decided you were going to create or participate in such a business blockchain network? What are the requirements? Well, you need a shared ledger. So you and other players need to agree on which assets you're going to share. You need to be able to provide identity. So you must be able to establish that the identity of who you're transacting with. Transaction endorsements. Some participants have to witness and approve a transaction. So you've got to agree on how they will verify a transaction as good or approved. At what point do we reach consensus and agree, yes, that now is the official shared truth? And then privacy and confidentiality. You've got to go through and do the work to think through what do you want to share, what do you not want to share. So participants in a private network, they don't want to share everything. For example, they may not want to share the exact price, the exact wholesale price, but they instead might want to share a range of price. So you have to agree on what will be shared and what will be kept. So some of the key players that are needed for blockchain adoption are regulators. So regulation is obviously trying to keep up with activity in blockchain. Regulators are not typically the leaders. They are not going to say this is what it should look like. Rather, they are going to react to what business agents or business players want to do, and they'll say, yes, that would work or that wouldn't work. So how regulation will evolve and to what level they're going to support the innovations around blockchain are unknown. You need an industry group. So there's often the blockchain networks often funded by members of a business network. They also provide technical advice and they encourage best practices, making recommendations to members. So you've got to get a kind of alignment of an industry group. If you can do that with a real leader in the industry, so for example, Kroger and Walmart together, they represent a significant share of the industry. And so it's sort of a snowball, I think, that you need to form if you were to form that. You also need a market maker. So in financial markets, this person needs to provide some liquidity. So they take the buy side and sell side in order to provide liquidity. So let's say, how do you get started with blockchain? I think there is a lot of discussion about this, not clear conclusions, but the most immediate obvious application of blockchain is a permissioned blockchain network. Unless you're playing in the payment space, which is where most of the activity is publicly thought of as blockchain activity exists, is in payments. But outside of that, it's probably a permissioned blockchain network. Such networks could be created at the industry level through a club of players or internally within your firm. There's a way to, there are applications of it within your company. And out of the discussion, 3 potential near-term actions emerge. Number 1, participate or launch some kind of industry coalition. Another one, which was interesting, and hopefully Jared will talk about it later, is using blockchain to rebalance power. So wherever you have a player in the industry who has power because of their control over data or trust, blockchain could counterbalance that. For example, Google and Facebook, they reap significant profits resting on the fact that they have access to consumer data that others don't have. So when you want to sell something, you have to advertise on Google or Facebook in order to optimize that marketing spend. Now, you could imagine, and IBM is actually working on this, that a group of media brands and publishers, so media brands, and also consumer brands, they could come together, form a blockchain, and find a way to share consumer data in a way that counterbalances Google's power or Facebook's power. And then there are many internal applications. Some of the strategic questions are a bunch of technical questions, but given that this was a chief strategy officer roundtable, we naturally moved towards strategic questions. And some of the big questions are, is there a first mover advantage? Or is there a disadvantage to moving in late? Is this just an efficiency play? So you would create an industry coalition and everyone benefits. That would be an efficiency play, but could you capture an unfair advantage or create a competitive advantage by creating such a coalition? And how quickly will it happen? I think anyone would be hesitant to put a number on it, but sort of a number that emerges is that it would take about 7-8 years for such an industry coalition to reach the adequate scale.